UFC welterweight Anthony Rocco Martin is back. This time, as we have a little bit of fun talking about the all-time mixed martial arts pound for pound greats. What I've done is polled a bunch of fighters here around the country, got a lot of their votes, and then formulated rankings 1 through 16. And now, tournament style, Rocco is going to help us pick who is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. Before we dive into that, Rocco, I spoke to you a couple of weeks ago. You were supposed to have a fight. How are things right now? I got to imagine it's kind of all up in the air.
Everything's crazy right now, man. I honestly was hoping to get on that 18th, because I'm like, I know that one's going down for sure. And you just never know, these governments try to start shutting down stuff, or I don't know exactly what they could do, but it sounds like everything's a go, except obviously my opponent's not going to be able to get in the U.S. So right now I'm just waiting for an opponent. I was hoping to get that Nico Price fight, but obviously they gave that to Vincent Luque. So now I'm just waiting. I mean, it looks like Bilal's out there looking for an opponent as well. He's kind of one of the last guys I want to fight on the roster because he's such a nice guy. I mean, pretty much a boss on the Twitter, and so he's very entertaining. And I've met him a couple times. Very nice guy, but it's business, and I think that's the fight to make.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you had any conversations at all with the UFC? Have they been in touch and given you any type of hints as to what's going on?
No, but I mean, I got a couple managers that, obviously I'm under Ali, so he's got a pretty good scoop with, seems like he's got like 6 or 7 at least fighting on this April 18th card. And then I also have Tyson Chartier that manages Kelvin and Robin, all of them, that he's out there for that April 18th with Kelvin versus Stevens. So he's kind of getting a little bit of a scope of the land. And when he gets there, hopefully he'll start to find out more. And I think that these next week or a couple weeks here, we should start hearing more. But I'm getting ready to fight. I'm preparing to fight. I told everyone, like, I don't even care who it is. Just give me a fight, and then I'll get in there and handle my business.
Now you have those core group of training partners, the Lima brothers, Jacau, also Will Brooks there. Tell me, how is everybody feeling? Is everyone's spirits up? Everyone healthy? You guys getting in there and just getting after it?
Yeah, we're all healthy. Obviously, Diego had the neck surgery, so he hasn't been training. But we have Douglas, Will, and then Clay Halverson's been in there with Jacau, obviously. And so we've been getting after it. We're all healthy. No one else has fights right now, so they're pretty much just all coming in to beat me up. And it kind of sucks because you know how that is when you don't have a fight. You're not, you're kind of not lazy, but you don't need to be in crazy shape. So they're kind of taking turns on me and coming in fresh. I'm like, Jesus. And so I'm taking a lot of beatings, but it's good, man. I'm ready. My cardio's there. My mind's there. So now it's just time. It's going to be my first time ever having to really cut weight. So to 170, obviously at 55, I was cutting like crazy, but so I'm about to cut. I'm actually starting to diet. First time I've ever had to do that at 70. So I'm not looking forward to it, but it has to be done.
Well, the last time we talked, you were also saying that you even showed me how good you're looking, all the muscle. So what's the weight at right now? And has your diet changed at all, or has it pretty much just been the same?
No, I had to change. I had to start eating clean, So I usually don't eat clean. I mean, I do most of the time because I have trifecta sending me my meals. But normally, if I want some Chick-fil-A or something, I'll swing in there. But I had to stop all that. I had to stop. I'm like 88 right now, but so I'm not too bad. But I was, like 92, 93 last week, and I was like, man, Tony, you better start dieting. Most of them got to fight on the 18th.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh. So I'm glad it's the 25th. I'm gonna start dieting now. Get ready to slim down a little bit. But I mean, if someone doesn't make weight on that 18th or gets unhealthy or something, I'm still a phone call away. I'm ready.
Well, that's good. I sure hope that, obviously MMA and sports in general starts back up and life gets back to normal, and really hope to see you back in the cage soon. Hopefully Dana White, does make this happen on the 18th. And it sounds like the next 3 events might be right there at this casino, which I believe is in Northern California. So hopefully you'll get on one of those cards and get that fight and make it happen. I do want to ask, obviously Khabib is out and Gaethje's in.
Yep.
Who do you got? You got Gaethje or Ferguson here?
I mean, I think that it just depends on, I think that Gaethje's got 10 minutes to put Tony away, And I think Tony's always had kind of a suspect chin in a way, where he takes heavy shots because he just trudges forward, man, doesn't stop. But he eats heavy shots and gets dropped starts rolling around, doing all this crazy stuff. And Gaethje obviously throws for the fences and has the power to put you away. So it's going to be an interesting first 10 minutes, but I think that if it goes outside there, that Tony wins. But I could really see that Gaethje clipping him, and it's a dangerous fight, man. It's a dangerous fight for Tony to take on. I mean, really, he's been training, so I don't want to say short notice, but it's short notice for Gaethje. But I mean, I think that I could see Tony just wearing him down. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I just think that Gaethje has to clip him, has to knock him out.
Do you remember that Lando Venata Ferguson fight?
Yeah. 1 week's notice. It was like a week or two notice. Venata jumped in there and clipped him. Remember Pettis clipped him. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I feel like he takes heavy shots a lot of the times, you know, but he eats them and he starts doing some weird shit, man. He's just like start diving around, Baron-Bola rolling. He's a wild man. So it'd be interesting to see what his game plan is. Yeah. I think that if he plays with fire, he could get himself in trouble. So I just don't know. Sometimes I feel like a guy like that, he's just so confident in his chin where he's like, I don't really need a game plan. I'm just going to have the same game plan every time. I don't know if you want to trudge forward on Gaethje like that.
Yeah.
Because he could take a beating and he still throws for the fences.
Yeah, and he's got some serious power. I love watching him fight. He really is a headhunter. He comes forward, and if he lands, I don't care who it's on. It could be night for who's stepping across the cage from him. But either way, I just hope the fights happen. I hope Dana White gets this done, and I hope that we see you stepping back in the octagon again soon. So I appreciate the update, and training's going well for you. Now let's dive into this tournament here. It's really interesting. You had some very stern thoughts right out of the gate when I approached you to be a part of this. Tell me about what you said and why you feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, I just right away I put in there that to be considered the all-time great, you know, you can't have any blemishes of cheating on your record. You know, I think that there's a lot of people out there that think a lot of these guys cheated, but if you never were caught, I can't like hold you as because I think that you were cheating or nothing. But if you were ever caught cheating, right away you're out of my rankings. I just think that to be considered the all-time great, you can't have any blemishes like that. I think that it's I mean, once a cheater, you know, I feel like once you're caught cheating, you've probably been always cheating in a way, you know. So I think that it's kind of like Major League Baseball has done that with a lot of the cheaters and not letting in the Hall of Fame now. So, and I agree. You know, I think that you could say everyone was doing it or whatever or not, but I just think that once you're caught, that you're no longer in my pound for pound best of all time.
Okay, well, I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about these matchups. And again, anyone that's watching this video, this is very subjective. It's someone's opinion, and it's tough because everyone's going to have something different to say. But if you just take, weight classes completely out of the equation and everything was equal, gender too, because Amanda Nunez is in this bracket. She's the lone female. Who has the better skill set? Who is going to move on? That's what I'm trying to find here. And a fellow like Rocco Martin here, UFC Welterweight, has an extensive amount of knowledge as a mixed martial artist. So I'm interested to hear the stylistic breakdown of why someone would beat the other fighter. Let's start right at the top. Number 1 seed Georges St-Pierre against number 16 seed, two-time champion Randy, the Natural Couture.
GSP's two-time champion too.
That's true.
You know, I mean, there's GSP is just the cleanest fighter ever, man. I think realistically, like that's what got me excited when watching it. Where it wasn't so much a fight. Like he obviously wasn't scared to fight, but it was an art. You know, it was a strategy to the max, and it was just like the timing and the game plan that he would put into place was just remarkable. He has a couple of small blemishes though. You know, he's got those couple with Hughes and then Sarah. But, I mean, look at the names, man. He's taken out Hughes twice, taken out Penn twice, Thiago Alves when Thiago Alves was an absolute killer, Koscheck twice and out-wrestled Koscheck.
John Fitch.
John Fitch when John Fitch was, on like an 8-fight win streak. He's just you gotta name the perfect fighter. It's pretty close to, you know, he's obviously number 1 seed for a reason. But then you got Randy Couture, man, where his his striking wasn't great, but it was so awkward where sometimes they'd work in fights. You know, my only knock on Couture was I felt like he had a couple bad losses in there. You know, I thought that with Rico, losing to Rico wasn't a great loss. I thought that for shockingly, like for how good his, like for wrestling and whatnot he was, when he got on his back, how he couldn't wrestle up to his feet that well. You know, he was more of a holder and trying to kind of wait out rounds. So that part kind of shocked me a little bit. But a two-time UFC champion at heavyweight and light heavyweight, and he's got some big names on there too with Liddell, Tito. Who else he got? Pedro Izzo twice. You know, you got Belfort twice in there. But I always thought he kind of came up in the right era. You know, he came up in the right era where he had a major, or not a major, but some of the guys he had a lot of size advantage. But then sometimes he gave up a lot of size. So it's kind of one of those guys where it was just he was a freak for sure because he was moving around big guys. But there's no way if size is out of the equation. I'm not even sure if size was in the equation if he's taking out GSP.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, George St. Pierre in his prime, I mean, he walked around at 190 pounds at least, I would say, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And I think Randy was what, like 230 or something like that, 225 or.
Yeah.
So he wasn't ever that big either. So, I mean, I think that possibly in their prime, I'm not sure if he would take them with no weight advantage.
Wow. Well, that's saying something right there. So clearly you have George St. Pierre marching forward here into the next round. We'll slide down to the next matchup. You got Fedor Emelianenko. A lot of people feel like he's the greatest heavyweight ever in his prime. Kind of like a Justin Gaethje, just one of those guys that if he connects, you're going to sleep against the Iceman, Chuck Liddell, who when he was at his best was pretty darn scary. But again, this would be a stand-up fight. I think it's safe to say. And, you know, it's kind of a little bit of a coin flip depending on who you ask. But how do you see this shaking out?
Well, first off, I feel like there's been no respect shown on Fedor's name being ranked number 8. You know, I thought for sure he'd be, you know, top 5. I don't know. These guys must not be watching a lot of fights or something. Fedor was never in the UFC, you know, so I think that could be a small blemish, you know, with the rankings a little bit here. And I think that, but you look at Fedor's tenacity on his feet, and he can grapple. People may not know, but that guy, he can grapple really well, you know, and he's submitted some really good guys. And he throws the hay. But you got Chuck Liddell too, man, where he stands in there, and you saw him a couple times with Tito throwing 50, it seemed like 50 punch combos and just throwing heat, man. Like you said, I do think it'd be more of a stand-up fight. And Chuck had power for days, man. Like that right hand was nuclear, you know. And Liddell, I think his definitely has maybe doesn't have that. I would say the aura that Fedor has, because Fedor was never in the UFC and never had that. Was a little bit before that. Chuck Liddell was part of that rise in the U.S. of that mediocre rise that MMA has been on. I have to go. There's no way I could go against Fedor on this one. There's just no. I think that his tenacity would be a little bit too much, and eventually would clip him or somehow just knock him down. And somehow he just throws so heavy and comes forward so hard that, and I think he was just a little bit more well-rounded as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I'm going to be interested to see if you have, if the way your bracket shakes out is the same as mine. I just finished interviewing Stephen Ocho Peterson. We had the same 2 guys in the finale. So I'm going to be interested to see if that's the same with you. Now, this is where things get interesting and where people have to kind of take, just, you know, look outside of the box. I mean, obviously, you got Amanda Nunez, double champ, the best women's fighter ever, against Max Holloway, longtime featherweight champion. Now, if they fought in real life, clearly Max Holloway, you know, bigger, stronger man, is going to win that fight. But I'm talking about pound for pound, you know, skill set. Who's better? Who has the better skill set here? If everything's equal, does Nunez move on, or does Max, the chosen one, Holloway, get the job done?
Yeah, so obviously, you know, I look at too is like the opponents you fought at the time you fought them as well. So I'm kind of like basing their skill set on not just being like, all right, this is what I saw in fights, but it's also I give you this plus on when you beat these people and how you beat them. And I think the only advantage that Holloway has against Amanda is cardio. You know, I thought that the cardio, or Holloway's cardio, would definitely be better than Amanda's. But outside that, man, look at Amanda's record. I was looking at it. It's absolutely ridiculous, man. It's, you got what Ronda, when Ronda was hot, you know, like you're talking about, everyone considered her literally talking about beating up Floyd and stuff, like saying some ridiculous stuff, man. Dispatched her like it was absolutely nothing. It's the way she dispatched these people too. It wasn't like a close fight where she won the split. No, dispatched her like crazy. Then you got Miesha Tate, who was coming off a win with Holly, right? That after Holly just knocked out Ronda, dispatched Tate like it was absolutely nothing. And then you go and beat Valentina twice, okay? And then you go and like Holly, I thought Holly was going to be her toughest fight. You know, I really did, just because Holly's strong, big, plays the hit and run game. And then you go out there and head kick, knock her out. And then you go, before that, you fight Chris Cyborg, the scariest women on the planet, you know, that people were considering the scariest woman on the planet. No one wanted to fight her. And people have run from her for years. You had, you know, obviously I thought Ronda had multiple opportunities to fight Cyborg. She didn't want any part of that. Amanda goes there and then knocks her out. Come on, man. I'm not, no disrespect to Holloway. I think he's ranked right where he should be. But you're talking about Nunez. You want to put her in a man's body at the same size as Holloway? You don't want. I don't think anyone wants to see that. You know what I mean? And no one wants to see Holloway get put away like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like where your head's at, and I agree. I have Nunez moving on as well. Look, she's the best that we've ever seen as far as female mixed martial artists go, and I can't wait to see what more she's going to accomplish, because she still has a lot more left to go in her career. Now, let's slide down to the next matchup. Number 4, Anderson the Spider Silva. A lot of people felt like when he was at his prime, maybe the scariest stand-up fighter that we've ever seen in mixed martial arts, against Henry, the King of Cringe, Cejudo, who, you know, I guess I was a little surprised to see him in here, but he did get a lot of votes, and here he is at the number 13 slot. I don't think if all things were equal, he beat Silva. What do you think?
So I had Cejudo around like that 16 marker, sitting on the outside a little bit, and I think that the Aldo fight could really slide him in there. If he takes out Aldo, he puts Aldo away, I slide him in there, because now you just went through Demetrius Johnson. You just went through what's his nuts? Dillashaw. Yeah. And you went through Moraes. You know how big Moraes looked compared to him?
He's scary.
Moraes was scary. And
he's like guys.
And then, no, I swear. And then I was like, now you're gonna go Aldo. Aldo looked, I thought, almost a little bit bigger than Moraes in there. And I was like, now you're gonna go take on Aldo, where Aldo's cardio looked good, has ridiculous takedown defense. And I'm like, and I told you, I have Cejudo moving on. There's no way I can't. I told you Anderson was the greatest finisher. This was the reason. I'll tell you, though. I'll take the cheating outside of it. I told you right away, the cheating aside. I'll put the cheating aside just for this purpose, and I'll tell you why. I don't think that Anderson was the greatest finisher that's ever been in the martial arts, okay? He wasn't the greatest fighter. I don't believe that. I think that he lost rounds to people like Travis Lutter and stuff. No disrespect to him, but if you're getting taken down and held down for 5 minutes versus Travis Lutter, when you're considered, a lot of people consider him top 3 all time, you know, I don't think that you are. I think that freaky striking, you know, obviously has been popped hot a few times, but his wrestling wasn't great. And I think that Cejudo's same size, man. And, you know, he's quick, he's nasty, he's fast. I gave it to Cejudo.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I could see why you'd say that. And Cejudo clearly is a monster. So, okay, you got him moving on. I will say this about Anderson Silva. I still think that he got very fortunate to win that first fight against Sonnen. Chael dominated that fight right until he got caught. And it was too bad, because, you know, I felt like that could have done a lot for Chael's career. I like Chael. I can't help but like him. He's one of those guys that's pretty charismatic.
Yeah, and I think that I also looked at Anderson Silva's record a little bit. I think that it hurts when those weight classes are a little bit higher. I feel like the competition gets, I don't want to say softer, but I feel like there wasn't any like really hot guys that were on the market. Like they were trying to find guys to fight him. They were trying to beg him for years to move up, because he was struggling to find that hot prospect to come in to really push him. You know what I mean? Other than Chael. Chael was like that guy where, you know, he talked it and walked it a little and walked it as well. But so I was always like that trouble where I had a hard time being like, okay, you're knocking out guys like that were good, but you're also losing rounds to these guys that I didn't think were very good.
Yeah.
And then you knock them out later. I don't know. Tough one, but he's got caught cheating, so he's off my list.
It'd be interesting to see what would happen if Silva's prime was in today's middleweight division with all the killers that are there now. There'd be so many matchups for him to get tested. That would be interesting to talk about. All right, we'll move on to the next one. You got two AKA teammates. This might be the toughest matchup of the first round. Khabib and Cormier. I mean, you got a coin to flip. I mean, both of these guys are absolute monsters. I still am going back and forth. I could see either one of them moving on.
No, again, what is going on with who you got to give me some contact info for these guys. Do you have Cormier at number 11? In what world are you kidding me? This guy went in pretty much as a straight wrestler in that Strikeforce tournament. Okay, takes out Bigfoot. Okay, takes out Barnett to win this tournament where those guys were like hot commodities at this time. You know what I mean? Out of nowhere, this guy just comes in and just like ragdown people. Goes, how many heavyweight fights? The guy won like 15 heavyweight fights. And it's like, no, my best friend's Cain Velasquez. I'm going to go down to 205. He would never win a 205 if Cain wasn't there. He'd have been fighting for the UFC title. And then he's like, no, I'm going to go down to 205. Goes down there and wrecks Hendo. He's flipping Hendo through the air. You remember when he was flipping Hendo through the air like a little baby?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness, absolutely crazy. Gets in there with John Jones. And again, you know how my feelings are. Once you pop hot, I have no respect for you. So, but in a good fight, you know, not phenomenal that one, but it was still a good fight. And then he goes out there. Look at this guy's resume. Like he's taking out Mir, Nelson, Hendo. You got Anthony Johnson twice on there where when Anthony Johnson was considered, you know, like a death touch, you know, I mean, death touch, I mean, it still probably does. So I'm just saying. Then he's like, all right, so he goes and fights John Jones again and looking phenomenal, by the way. It was looking phenomenal in that fight. I thought he was perfect game plan, was starting to wear on him, and boom, gets clipped. Obviously, John Jones pops hot for that fight. It gets overturned to a no contest. And he's like, all right, gets an opportunity to move up to heavyweight and takes out Stipe, who was at the time considered one of the best heavyweights of all time. Come on, man. Khabib is phenomenal, okay? And I'll tell you, Khabib's it's ridiculous how he dispatches of the opponents. You know, it's how he beats them. It's not so much like where he's got this phenomenal finishing ability or stand up, or even his wrestling isn't like, you know, an Olympic level wrestler. You know, I mean, it's his tenacity and him always going up. I won't say 100%, but it looks like 100%. But he's always going, always on the gas, unlimited gas tank, keep pressing forward, and really. And once he gets a hold of you, it's in for a long night. But I think he's another guy. I think that his resume is lacking. He's got a lot of asterisks on his record with a lot of people falling out at wrong times, and he's getting a lot of short notice fights, a lot of injury troubles and stuff like that. And so this in a straight fight, I lean towards DC.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. And I agree with you. I do feel like DC should have been ranked higher. Let me ask you this. If forget about all things being equal, if these two are in the gym right now, DC weighing 240 or whatever he is, and Khabib is maybe 185, 190, does Khabib give him much pushback, or is DC dominate?
No, that's his big brother. DC is his big brother. That's why I think Khabib likes him. Like, he always talks shit, but he's like, it's because, you know, you see DC, he's this fat, chunky guy that's just like, you think like nothing, but he's probably one of those guys that works hard, man, always in the gym, and can wrestle. So I think that's why him and Khabib get along so well, where I think they probably play around a little bit, but I don't think they don't even do live rounds with each other, because
size difference.
Well, it's size, and also like DC's an Olympic level wrestler. Like he's not just like a heavyweight wrestler, man. This is an Olympic level wrestler, that's an athletic freak. Look how short he is for this heavyweight. He's like this chunky guy out here. He's in there striking. He's got this weird striking, little pullback stuff, and he's just a weird. Everything's weird, but he fucking makes it work, man. He's phenomenal. Yeah. And I lean towards Cormier. I think that no respect shown at that number 11 ranking.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like I said, I feel like he should be ranked higher. So we'll see what happens. When he moves forward here in this next bracket here. Now, number 3 versus number 14, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson versus what many people will tell you is the most popular mixed martial artist on the planet today, the notorious Conor McGregor. I'm, as much as I love Conor, I'm leaning towards Mighty Mouse if everything is equal. What do you say?
I mean, McGregor is probably the most popular fighter in the world, not just MMA fighter. I think that he's definitely the most popular. And I think there's just a lot of. I think that the reason why people might think Floyd is just because he sells so much, but I think there's a lot of boxing haters out there. I think there's a lot of boxing haters that just on principle won't buy like a UFC fighter or that because. But I think I bet you that right now, more people know McGregor than Floyd. So I think that McGregor is the most popular fighter in the world. But I'll tell you, I'm not so impressed with McGregor's record. So again, he's a guy where I put a lot of asterisks on his record where I feel like he was fighting the guys. He's got good names on there, right? He's got some good names with Poirier, Holloway. But he fought Holloway when Holloway was a baby. Okay. Poirier, he did clip Poirier right away. I thought that was good. But also, Poirier shown that his chin at 45 wasn't nearly as good at 55. When he moved up, his chin's held up. So I think that and then I also think that Nate Diaz, I don't think Nate Diaz is even top 10 or top 15. I don't think Nate Diaz top 15 at welterweight or lightweight. So to go up and fight Nate when Nate had a 10-day notice and lose, that's a huge drop off for me. And then to go out there and have maybe a crazy fight of the year or whatever you want to call it, where it was very controversial again with Nate. No, I don't think he's as good. But then he went and obviously looked phenomenal versus Alvarez.
Yeah.
And but I think there's a lot of guys that I think he's been protected. He's one of those guys. Demetrius Johnson was never protected. Demetrius Johnson, freaky fast, phenomenal striking, phenomenal cardio, phenomenal wrestling. He's great everywhere. Dispatched Cejudo first round, the first fight. He's dispatched Benavidez twice. Fought McCall, right, when in McCall's prime, beat him after the draw. Who else did he take out twice? Let me see here. Dotson, when Dotson was, everyone was saying how fast and powerful Dotson was, took out Dotson twice. Horiguchi, who's, could be one of the best guys in the world at 135 right now. And then you have one of the best submissions of all time with Ray Borg. He had it all, man. He has it all. And I think that obviously McGregor has a left hand. Crazy left hand, great timing. But I think that overall, Demetrius Johnson can game plan like crazy. So I lean towards Demetrius Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert, I have Demetrius Johnson going pretty far here in this hypothetical tournament. He is almost as good as it gets all time, in my humble opinion. All right, this is an interesting one. Jose Aldo, known for his phenomenal stand-up. He's got crazy kicks versus Matt Hughes, longtime welterweight champion and unbelievable wrestler. So this is a clash of styles. Whose style is better?
Honestly, if I just had to jump out right away and say it, I'd say Aldo. It's not even close. I don't even think it's close. Aldo's fought some of the best wrestlers in the game, man. Like, you had Mendez, which freak wrestler. You got Faber in there that was a great wrestler. You have Frankie, who's a phenomenal wrestler. This guy's takedown defense is legendary. You know what I mean? And his style has changed a little bit. There's some obviously there's some rumors with USADA coming in, but he's never popped hot. And so he's still in my list, and he's got power for days. You remember when he exploded on Cub Swanson in WEC?
Yeah.
With that flying knee, right? Like the explosion he had in WEC, and then But Hughes, then you have Hughes as well. Right? Let's not discount Hughes. His striking wasn't great, but he had that. Was he kind of like a back in the day Khabib in a way? You know, like just like maybe not so much as quite, but he just had that brute farm boy power and strength.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good analogy.
He's got some great, phenomenal names on there, man. He beat GSP. He took out BJ Penn twice. Took out both Gracies. You know, Hoyce and Henzo. So I mean, he beat Dave Manet. You remember Dave Manet was the 85-pound champ of the UFC at one point. He beat Dave Manet way early on as well.
That's right. You're way back here. That's right.
Yeah, that's way back. You had Carlos Newton. I thought Carlos Newton, man, was a freak athlete, man. Carlos Newton was a freak athlete. That was a crazy slam KO, right? It was, he's got, I'm going to lean towards,
Aldo.
I got to go with Aldo. I just because I just think that his takedown defense would be too much.
Let me ask you this real quick about a couple of old fights, and you tell me if you think I'm right. I believe the first GSP Matt Hughes fight, the only reason why George lost is because mentally he didn't believe in himself yet. He looked up to Matt Hughes and felt like he wasn't deserving or he just wasn't there yet. Do you agree with that?
What I would say is it is mental, but I think it was mental of thinking that I don't think he believed how good he was. You know what I mean? That's always the toughest part in MMA, I feel like, is believing how good you are. You know, there's some fighters, they could be like, thinking like they're narcissists or something like that. You have to be almost mildly a narcissist to be in this sport because it's so mental. Like if you go into a fight, even if you think that fighter is better than you, it's going to be a long night. You know what I mean? I think that at that time, like you said, he looked up to Matt Hughes where he thought he held him on this pedestal of being here and himself here. And I think what happened is he went and rewatched that fight afterwards and was like, holy shit, I might be on another level. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that was kind of the big key to that fight.
The other, I agree. The other question that I had is the Conor McGregor Jose Aldo fight. To me personally, I felt like Conor stole a little bit of Aldo's soul before that fight even began. He just looked shook to me, and a lot of people said the same thing. Do you agree with that assessment? And do you feel like Aldo has rebounded since then, or has just never been the same guy?
Yeah, I think that. Well, I think there was a lot of pressure on Aldo of being like. He was always getting pressure to being too reserved, you know, not attacking enough in fights, and kind of some people were kind of saying he's a little boring because he wasn't. I think he was always a little bit concerned about the cardio problems, and I think that with Conor talking all that shit, doing all those antics and stuff, he was like, "Oh, I gotta knock this motherfucker out," you know. And I think that was his downfall of being like, "I have to hit him right away," instead of just fighting his fight. You know, it's even. I was talking to Jakal a little bit about when I'm training, you know, where like the closer you get to a fight, we're like, oh, I want to push my cardio so I get more aggressive. And he's like, why would you do that? You're getting caught. You're getting taken down. You're doing all these stupid things. Like you're not work your game, stick to your game. And just if you want to move more or throw a little bit more punches, but stick to your game. Don't change your game. I think he changed the way he was fighting, and that was his downfall.
Yeah, well, I always hoped that we'd see that rematch. Never happened, probably isn't going to ever happen, but, you know, one can't hope. Now, the last matchup in the first round, I'm assuming where you're going with this one. John Jones, the number 2 seed, against Dominic Cruz, number 15. John popped twice for steroids, so I'm assuming you have Cruz moving on here.
Yeah, I have Cruz. But Cruz's, John Jones' resume, you look at that thing on paper, you're like, holy shit. It's freaky. You know, there is no, even a GSP, all that, man. You look at the champions. Every single guy that John Jones is fighting was champion, you know, pretty much. But he hasn't looked great. I feel like his last 3 fights. I mean, I thought that he lost 2 of those fights, and he's popped out a couple of times. And Cruz is the biggest what if in MMA history, I think, is the what if. What if he stayed healthy? You know what I mean? And it's sad to see such a great athlete and did some legendary stuff in there, man. Beat some really good guys and really changed the game of the way the game of MMA was thought about. I think was a big part of what Cruz brought to the game.
Let's stay right down here and work our way back up. We're in the second round now. Dominic Cruz and Jose Aldo is the matchup. As you were mentioning earlier with Cruz, how good could he have been? I mean, his movement was unbelievable. And then you see what Cody Garbrandt did to Dom when they had that last fight. So he's probably at that point now where his best days are clearly behind him. But when he was in his prime, you could make the case that he is right there with Aldo. Again, subjectivity comes down to your opinion. So how do you see this?
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought that would have been a decent fight. You know what I mean? Mostly both in their prime. Same if they would have been rocking around the same weight. Give Cruz another 10 pounds to get in there. I think that stylistically though, in Aldo's prime, man, I think Aldo takes him out. I think just leg kicks alone would have absolutely destroyed him because Aldo doesn't run away like that,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was with Dillashaw. I mean, Cruz and Garbrandt is that Garbrandt stood his ground, and Cruz would get hurt because not a lot of people stood the ground because they always try not to get hit. And Cruz is so good at getting in and getting out, and that's when Garbrandt was clipping him was on the way out. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like because he didn't move backwards. Cruz came in, he stayed his ground. Then when Cruz was coming out is when he attacked. And I think that Aldo's kind of that similar type of fighter, but I think that Aldo's leg kicks and takedown defense again is just legendary, man. I don't think that Cruz could take him down and make him work enough for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really interesting hearing the stylistic breakdown. This is exactly why I wanted to do this because MMA junkies, the fans out there that love the sport, they always talk about this kind of stuff like in the NBA. Look at what would happen if Michael Jordan played against LeBron James in each of their primes. How would that go? And this is kind of what I'm trying to accomplish here and just have a little fun while the whole world is on shutdown. This matchup right here, Daniel Cormier, Demetrius Johnson. I mean, wow. How can you even imagine this, right? Because the size difference is enormous. So trying to imagine it is just insane, but that's what we're trying to do. So if everything was equal, Rocco,
I mean, the only thing with the equal part is, right, is I think that Demetrius Johnson's fast reflexes, right, are so much faster. So if you put him in the same size with someone, right, say DC weighed the same exact weight and he had this speed that he has down there, does it get amplified when you move up? I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it get amplified because you move up in weight, or would the weight be like, okay, we're going to slow you down a little bit? And then the strength, I mean, I don't think he's ever been considered the strongest flyweight or even like the best anywhere. I think he's just one of the more best well-rounded guys out there in the game. And I think that DC is a little bit more of a specialist at heavyweight, but he's got really phenomenal. He brought striking into his game. And I just think that his submission game would be lacking a little bit in that fight. And I think that Demetrius would get out of some bad situations from using a little bit more jiu-jitsu. And I think that Demetrius Johnson is a little bit more sound everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the edge with Demetrius.
Yep, I am in agreement with you there. As much as I love DC, I got Mighty Mouse. Now we're back up to the top half of the bracket. Cejudo and Nunez. Didn't Cejudo call out Nunez? Didn't he actually want that fight? Am I right?
I don't know if he really wants that stuff. I think he's like you said, he's the king of cringe, So he's phenomenal athlete though, man. But phenomenal athlete, and again, I just don't think that there's been enough film or enough resume yet for me to even think of him in a contention with Amanda Nunez. With her power and her ability, she can grapple. She could do it all, man. Like she could do everything. Like she's not a one-dimensional woman fighter, man. She could take down. She took down what Durandamy was the 45-pound champ, phenomenal striker. And really, Amanda just kept taking her down over and over. But Cejudo just needs some more time. He's still young, I would say, in the sport of MMA. He's still 33, but he's young in the sport of MMA. So we'll see what he can do with time. But I'm going to give that to Amanda as well.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I'm going to see if I can guess your assessment for this next matchup with GSP and Fedor. I know you got GSP moving on, as do I, but I want to see if I'm right on why you think GSP would win if these two fought in their prime and all things were equal. Obviously, Fedor is known for his huge knockout power. George is meticulous at game plans, and he sticks right to them to a T. I would imagine that GSP would take Fedor down, maintain top control, basically beat him via unanimous decision over 5 grueling rounds of a lot of ground and pound.
Yeah, man. Just thinking about the fight would be. That's a tough one. That's a grueling fight, man. It's a scary fight too for GSP because he obviously he has been clipped too. You know what I mean? And Fedor throws to kill you, so it's not a thing where it's like he's not throwing to kill you. But like you said, man, I think that GSP's game plan. Here's the thing about GSP. Okay, he went with the best strikers in the world. Right? Thiago Alves at that time when they fought, right, was considered the best one of the best strikers in the world. You know, and you had Dan Hardy with crazy power, and you just had these guys that were considered one of the best strikers in the world. He outstruck them. It wasn't like they were outstriking him. He outstruck them. You had some of the best grapplers in the world that he fought. Some of the best wrestlers in the world that he fought. He out wrestled them easily. It wasn't even close. And then, you know, he's been caught once in a submission, but outside that, he was never caught. You know, and was dominant throughout his whole career. It wasn't like he wasn't having split decisions or close decisions other than the one fight, you know, at Hendricks. Outside that, man, it was 50-45s, and he was so good, so above everyone that it was like, oh, he's boring. It's like, no, he's just so fucking good. It was just like, and it's a scary fight. That's a good fight, though. It's a good fight. But no, man, I got to go with GSP. But I think that it's a tough one because I don't think that GSP beats him 9 out of 10. I think 7 out of 10. I think GSP wins. I think 7 out of 10 just because Fedor I think would clip him, and he does have the submission ability to give him some trouble. You know, Fedor had a grappling match versus Mousasi, submitted Mousasi. You know, and so he's had like these. Obviously, with the Sambo background, lots of grappling experience. So it's not just a one-dimensional haymaker, but he could wrestle. He could do it all too. So I think that, but I would never. With GSP's timing was just brilliant.
Brilliant. The takedowns that he would get, like you're saying, the timing, it was just so perfect. It literally was, as you said earlier. He's the reason why, for me, why I started to get into MMA and why I loved MMA so much. I loved everything about the guy. I mean, class act inside and outside of the cage, as good as it gets. Now, this is interesting because we're down to the final 4, and you have what a lot of people, both yourself and me, it sounds like, believe George St. Pierre is the greatest male mixed martial artist of all time.
Yeah.
And Amanda Nunez, the greatest female mixed martial artist of all time. When I do look at their skill sets, Rocco, I do feel like GSP is a little bit more dynamic. Amanda obviously has some heavy power, but I do feel like George would get by Amanda if all things were equal. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think that GSP's never gassed. He's never had cardio trouble, and he's just so well-rounded, man. Like, just phenomenal everywhere. So even when you watch Amanda, where she, like you said, she got devastating power and tenacity. Like, she's willing to get in there and really buckle down and throw. But GSP's been a master at beating those type of game plans. You know, he's a master at, oh, you got a crazy right hand or a crazy left hook. Okay, I'll just wait for that and just swoop right under. He's done that for years, man. He's just a master of the game plan, and he's phenomenal everywhere. And I think that cardio-wise, he definitely has a major advantage, and I think that GSP definitely would move on to the finals.
Yeah, we're in agreement there. And then you move down to the bottom half of the bracket. You got Mighty Mouse versus Aldo. I personally, and the same thing with Ocho Peterson, he had Mighty Mouse moving on, facing GSP in the finale. That's what I have. What do you got?
Are we talking prime? Are we talking prime Aldo?
Yes, prime Aldo.
Talking prime Aldo. I don't know, man. I think it might be a bad matchup for Demetrius, even if he's the same size. I think it's just a bad matchup. That's what my problem is. I think it's a bad matchup because a prime Aldo, right, had devastating low kicks, crazy striking with phenomenal takedown defense. Phenomenal takedown defense. And that could have been Demetrius's kryptonite if he fought someone like that. You know what I mean? Like in his prime. But I mean, I remember watching Demetrius and Cruz fight and seeing the size difference. And at that point, I was like, holy shit. Demetrius is tiny, man. So, I mean, like, I don't know, like, what's the size? I mean, like, I'm giving him an extra, 30 pounds, you would think? Because, yeah, he fights at 25, but I don't think he's walking around much heavier than that. He might be walking around at 35. So I'm thinking 30 pounds here. So I'm trying to think 30 pounds with his. I really think that the way the brackets worked out, because of the way the brackets worked out.
You got Aldo, it sounds like.
See, I'm leaning towards Aldo, but I'm also like not trying to be crazy because I know how good Demetrius is. But I'm just wondering, like, he didn't have power at 25. Right. Really. He did have some knockouts and had some of that and was very clean. You know what I mean? And I think that if they were the same size and you didn't have like that true knockout power like Aldo, and Aldo's in his prime with his takedown defense, I think Demetrius would have to take Aldo down. Now, I don't think he'd do it.
You know, at the end of the day, as you know, styles make fights, right? And that's what makes this bracket in particular so interesting, because the different stylistic matchups. We could shake this bracket up and we could get, you know, different matchups in the semifinals and whatnot. So at the end of the day, again, it comes down to matchups. And other people had John Jones and Mighty Mouse. We here now with your picks, you have Aldo and Mighty Mouse. So it sounds like you got Aldo moving on. He's just a little too dynamic.
I don't know about dynamic, but I think his takedown defense is too good. I think his striking's better, and his takedown defense is better than Demetrius' wrestling.
Okay.
So I think that Demetrius' jiu-jitsu is better, and but I don't think not in a prime Aldo. I'm gonna go Aldo. I'm crazy. I don't know what's going on. I really came in here before you put all these out. Well, even look at my sheet. I'm like, I had Demetrius number 3. You know what I mean? In my rankings, I had him number 3 and Aldo number 6. But I didn't think about the matchup so much. It's like you said, matchups makes fights.
So for anyone that doesn't know your rankings, just give us your 1 through 16 all-time pound for pound before you pick this championship fight.
Yes, I went GSP, Fedor, Demetrius, DC, Nunez, Aldo, Khabib, Hughes, Chuck Liddell, Dominic Cruz, Stipe, Edgar, Holloway, Couture, Shogun, and Boss.
Okay. That's a great top 16, and obviously some glaring names are left out because of the popping of steroids. You got John Jones, Anderson Silva that in particular are left out, but again, top to bottom, I mean, when you look at the greatest mixed martial arts of all time, there's so many to choose from, and I feel like collectively this bracket is, the rankings might not be perfect, but you get a lot of the big names here. There might be 1 or 2 that you could replace depending on how you look at things. But in your final now, based on these matchups, you have George St. Pierre and Jose Aldo.
Now you run into does Aldo turn into like a little bit better Thiago Alves with better wrestling, better takedown defense maybe? That's what I visualize. So that's what I'm visualizing when I'm looking at this. I'm like, all right, I imagine Thiago Alves in his Thiago Alves prime, you know, and Thiago Alves when it is in his prime is kind of what I'm imagining with Aldo in there, with Aldo having maybe a little bit better takedown defense. And I still don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough to take out the timing that GSP had it, because I just don't see. I don't see anyone that Aldo's ever fought with the takedown ability that there's been no takedown ability like GSP ever. And because of the timing, even Khabib has great takedowns, but he's not a great takedown guy on that first takedown. You know what I mean? GSP was phenomenal on that first takedown. Like he would just get you and boom, you're down. Like it's like shit. You don't even have a chance to sprawl.
It's so interesting hearing you talking about GSP too, because you are a UFC welterweight, which was the weight class that George dominated for years, and you're on the fringe of the top 15 right now, getting ready to crack that. Hopefully soon in your next fight, you'll be able to do that. And you look at the top of the weight class, and you have the champion Kamaru Usman just clamoring, basically begging George St. Pierre for a fight. Now, granted, George St. Pierre is almost 40 years old. And I feel like Kamara is like, well, if I'm going to beat George St. Pierre, now's the time I can capitalize on it. But how would a fight go if those two fought in their prime? Because that'd be pretty easy to really break down, because they are the same weight class.
In their prime?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Don't disrespect GSP like that.
Hey,
don't even ask questions like that. You know what I mean? Don't ask some ridiculous questions like that, because, I mean, no offense versus Kamara, but I mean, that guy look at his record. He's got like 10 decisions as well. Like he's had like dominant wins, but I mean, like he ain't out there like running people over like that, but he does look phenomenal, man. He does look really good, but he's in his prime right now and didn't run over Colby.
Mm-hmm.
He finished him, but I think on some scorecards it was 3-1, you know, for Colby. Yeah. So I'm like, GSP in his prime. I mean, who?
Yeah. No, we're like, you and me are in a, and I have George as the winner, regardless of how
I'm like, listen. No way. I mean, I'm not even sure if Kamara could beat him now.
Really?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, like, I think that again, for some reason, it's timing, man. It's not his. I think his reflexes are probably a little bit slower, and he's not as explosive, maybe. But it's timing wins fights.
Mm-hmm.
Timing wins fights, and his timing's great. It's just come down to cardio, because Kamaru does have great cardio, mm-hmm. and will push the pace. You know what I mean? And stay on him at least. But I don't think he's a better striker than GSP. I don't think he's a better wrestler even. Mm-hmm. And his jiu-jitsu is not as good. So it comes down to, it would just be, right now I'm talking about age versus youth. That's all it would be. In his GSP at 40 and Kamaru in his prime, I'm not sure if Kamaru wins.
Wow. Well, again, it's very interesting to talk about all of this. And again, George St. Pierre, my all-time favorite mixed martial artist. If you look at my MMA wall behind me, I got so much GSP on there, it's ridiculous. You know what I do need, Rocco, is when you get one of your posters next, I need to get one of those to put on there.
Heck yeah.
So we should talk about that, and
sure.
I'll get that done. But listen, man, this is a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. So far, both fighters that I've interviewed, yourself and Ocho Peterson, have George St. Pierre as the all-time pound-for-pound greatest mixed martial artist. I agree. So that's 3 out of 3 so far. Interested to hear what others have to say. As always, man, appreciate the time. This is a little bit longer of an interview than we normally do. But
once you start getting me on fighting, I'll talk all day. So I was pretty mild today. I feel like I could have kept talking. So I was just like, you know, I'll keep this show going, you know, so I'm not over here holding you up forever.
No, well, I really appreciate it, man. It's always fun chatting with you. You're a great interview, and I can't wait to see you step back in to the octagon here soon. Hopefully soon. Keep me updated. If you get that call, shoot me a message, and we can do a quick little interview to break down that fight if and when it does happen soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.